Hey there, Mayte Carrillo with Popcorn Talk at the LA premiere of Suspiria, where we interviewed some amazing people. Stay tuned. Can you tell us a little bit about the first time you watched the original Suspiria for the first time?
Wow, the first time I watched the original Suspiria, you're definitely stretching my memory. It was VHS,
okay,
for sure. So it was 1980 something. I don't know when I was sort of introduced to like the Italian horror films, but you know, they're referred to as giallo. But I can tell you my memory was really of just the imagery, you know, this sort of assault on the senses. Violent and, you know, and at the same time, actually our writer, Dave Kajanich, I have to give him credit for this metaphor because I never would have thought of it, but it's sort of perfect. He said it's like, it's almost like being trapped inside of a lava lamp for, you know, for an hour and a half, which sounds both sort of like horrifying and oddly, you know, entertaining, which is not a bad way to describe the original movie. But it left an impression. It's not something that I ever forgot, and it was sort of jarring, you know, how a movie could go to that kind of extreme and still have sort of an artistic quality to it, and so I kind of admired it, and I was curious, and I started watching other Argento movies like Profundo Rosso, Deep Red, so it definitely made an impression on me for sure.
Talking about impressions, were you impressed by working with Luca, because he's so much into emotions, heavy into it? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience working with him?
Honestly, Luca he's one of the sweetest guys, and you know, very smart, very able to kind of connect psychologically with the subject matter of the stories that he's telling. And you know, it's almost like I can't think of another experience that I've had that was quite like it. You know, the process before we started shooting, I would travel to Crema, where he lived, in Italy, and we would sit with all of these, you know, books about witchcraft and the history of World War II, and kind of like looking at, you know, imagery of Berlin at the time and thinking, all right, well, where's the best place to capture that today? Because Berlin doesn't really look like Berlin in the 1970s. Maybe it's Budapest. It ended up being Berlin. But, you know, he, like any great filmmaker, I think is really interested in, you know, in just pushing the envelope and not compromising and not being willing to compromise on any level until, you know, he's achieved what's in his mind. And no matter what you do, right, when you're dreaming it all up, it's always going to be more perfect than, you know, when it starts to rain when you didn't want it to, and, you know, the camera can only go so far back, and, you know, so it's like production ends up being a series of compromises and a series of putting out fires. But in the end,
that's
you
the
know,
fun of it, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. And when you're thinking back on it, it's fun. When you're going through it, not so much. But no, I mean, look, I love working with great artists, and, you know, and Luca, I think, epitomizes that. So it was great.